Hello, everyone. I'm Johnny Moran, and this is Moran and Friends. And if you want to catch me live this week and you are in the PA near Frontier Wrestling, come catch me at Frontier Wrestling. But my guest tonight is one half of the Stepdads, wow, I can't speak today. Radley Belmont. Sorry for messing up your name there.
You actually just reminded me. We started with a new company a couple weeks ago, and the
Ooh,
guy that makes the titles for the show
yeah.
messaged me. He goes, "Is this correct for your name?" Which I thought was very professional, very cool.
Yeah.
But he sent it to me, and it said instead of Rad Dad, it said Rag Dad, and
Rad.
I don't know how that could even been the thing that would have happened. But I had to correct that for him. So luckily that.
But wait. That could be new merch. Maybe he's trying to help out some merch situations here.
Like a terry towel kind of deal, right?
Yeah.
For the car and stuff.
Yeah.
All right.
You know what? Maybe you should have. Maybe you should have been like, no, keep that. Hang on. Let me see if we can get some stepdads on the towel now.
It should have been my. Yeah, I should have went with the terrible towel with the Argyle or something.
Merch. Merch. It writes itself.
I'm so glad I came on this podcast today. Look at this. It's making me money already. Fantastic.
That's what I do. I help you out with gimmick ideas.
But yeah, I'm the Rad Dad Radley Belmont. Thank you for allowing me be a part of the Moraniverse or whatever you'd like to call it.
Yeah, the High Tension Network Moraniverse. I like that.
There you go. I love it.
So did you have a show this past weekend?
This past weekend we wrestled in what's it called? Woonsocket, Rhode Island.
Oh,
for a place called New World Wrestling Extreme.
So what did happen there? Who did you?
That one we had a tag title match because we just started wrestling there.
Mm-hmm.
Last month we wrestled Buff Inc., which, by the way, any promoters out there that would like to book the Stepdads versus Buff Inc., I love doing that match. I genuinely do. So you can book it, go ahead. But just be aware that this match has happened like 5 times in the last 3 months.
5 times?
Yeah. So you're going to get like a it's almost like you go like through house shows and you get this perfect match and everything. Like we've kind of perfected our match. But boy, have we done it a lot. But we did do it for NWE already. So that worked out. That was our debut there. And then we just oh yeah. Tell me.
Let me interrupt right there. So
please,
you've done it at least 5 times, right?
Yeah.
So do you find it like that you're in like a little bit of a groove? You kind of don't like, do you call things more on the fly when you're in there, or you go, oh, you remember that spot from X, Y, and Z show? Let's do that again.
So for me personally, I got no problem working on the fly. Especially since I grew up with Southern tag wrestling and like I love that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
But we're also doing a lot of character work, so it depends. It almost depends on like you can snatch a headlock the same as for us it'd be like taking their nose or something. Like as long as the other guy kind of gets the idea of what's going on, working on the fly isn't a problem. With them, I enjoy wrestling Buff Inc. so much because every match was slightly different.
Right.
And we got to do a lot of different stuff that we wouldn't usually do. One match we had our stepson who came out to check on us because we had been beaten down, and he grabbed the thermostat from under the ring, which we had established earlier in the show when he came out and put it under the ring. And so when he turned up the thermostat, we both, Wade and I, Undertaker sat up and yelled, "Who touched the thermostat?" and did like a double Undertaker choke slam, double pin. But that was the only time we ever did that in that series. The next time we wrestled, we did a thing where I was on Wade's shoulders, like a chicken fight, while 2 Buff was on Buff Dad's shoulders, and we're chain wrestling up there. Because the normal thing would be like a shoulder bump or something like that. We're actually chaining up there to the point where I get a sleeper hold on 2 Buff while we're still on our partner's shoulders. And the referee can't check him to see if he's passed out. So our stepson ran into the ring, put the referee on his shoulders so he could do the arm drags.
Oh.
And then as his arm fell for the third time, his dad grabbed it. So it was like, oh no, he's still there. He's still fine. And then they hit us and I dropped and everything. But like that, I can't wait to see the footage of that because that was like one of the most fun things we'd ever done.
How do
That was
you
crazy.
like? You guys are very innovative with like your offense and your defense. Like, where do you come up with it?
I think it's just a lot of the stuff anybody comes up with is like just joking around. I feel like maybe if you're messing around in the ring and you come up with a cool move. I've literally seen people just come up with like DDT variations because they fell over a guy and it looked really cool. Like,
okay.
and with us, it's like we try to think of like this just as a joke, the stupidest idea you could think of, like a cartoon character moment, and then take it like 2 notches back as we're laughing about it, and it becomes a wrestling spot. Like the thermostat thing is so ridiculous, but we use it as a weapon. We use it to fire us up when we turn up and down the thermostat. Obviously, anytime you turn up the thermostat or even touch the thermostat, the stepdads are going to have a real, we're going to go berserk or whatever. We had it where I would even rage out and my stepson would turn it down so I'd like calm down in the ring because I was about to attack the referee or something. And like these are just things we joke about. I'll tell you one in the back of a TOS show once. We're in the locker room and we're hanging out with Slick Wagner Brown and Ryan Frost, and we're just talking about like somebody brought up stipulation matches, and I'm like, I've never been in a proper ladder match since we've been the stepdads. Ever? I'm like, and well, I did single stuff way back in the day, but like as a tag team, never been in a ladder match. We barely do stipulation match, like never been in a cage. That's like the ultimate to me, being a cage.
Right.
And like I said, I'm very old school Southern wrestling, like Rock and Roll Express bleeding in the cage like that. I want that, man,
Right.
But so we mentioned like, yeah, I've never been in a ladder match, but we always had this idea that like on top of the ladder, maybe the ladder, we have a short ladder or something, we can't get up there, so we grab a step ladder and put the step ladder on top to finally get the extra couple. And we all joked about it so much. We were like, yeah, step ladder match. What would a step ladder match be like? Would the ceiling be low or something? You have a high rise ring. Yeah. Like how would and we joked about it for like the next show. We joked about it again. Like, oh, we could do the Terry Funk spin the ladder, but it's a step ladder, so nobody gets hit and the guy just falls over because he's like tired or whatever. Like, we made up all these jokes to the point where Slick Wagner Brown one day was like, yo, in a couple months, do you just want to do a step ladder match? Like, you've literally just told me all the spots to a step ladder match already.
Yes.
And we were like, well, we were just joking. He's like, he's like, everything I heard, that sounds like a match already. And I was like, all right, it's cool. So we just did a step ladder match as pretty much as a joke. But the match was awesome. Right. It's online. It's Stepdads versus Cold Cash. It's not like you climb and get a weapon or get anything. It's just step ladders are legal. Right. And we still did all the trope step like ladder spots. I would climb the step ladder to do a big elbow drop, and I'm like terrified, even though I'm like 4 feet in the air. And like we made it really fun and really brutal. The finish is a Rikishi driver onto the ladder. Yeah. So
you know how to take it a step further.
Yeah. Please throw it at me.
You need a total trolley. You know what a total trolley is?
No.
It's a step ladder, but it's got like this little forklift maneuver with it.
Okay.
Oh my God. You need that. The total trolley. Look it up after this show. Anyone listening, check out the total trolley. You just you guys need your own match. Like, did you ever hear of the Runway? They're out of Pittsburgh.
No, please tell me.
So they have like a glamcore match.
Okay.
So it's a hardcore match, but they use like mirrors, glitter, smoke bombs. Like, it's really unique and cool. They have like I think they had 3 of them. We talked about them when we talked to them on my podcast here. Uh-huh. And like that's like their exclusive match, and like they kind of like show that around to promoters, and like when people bring them in, usually like their feud always ends in like a glamcore match.
I love that. I love that.
So like I feel like you need like, I don't know.
It's been something we've been thinking about for years. I know for a fact at some point Test of Strength wants us to do another step ladder match, so that's probably our thing there. But like we've thought of like instead of an I Quit match to have a Say Uncle match.
Yeah,
You know, like it's all just variations on the same stuff we got though. But like a timeout match where you have to like put the guy in a tree of woe or something. Like I don't know, something.
Oh my
we have to
God.
hang the guy upside down on the cage or something. It's, you know, I don't know. I don't know, but we've been trying to think of something. We've come up with some weird ideas. They just don't work for the stepdads. Like one idea I've had for a long time is called the Falls Count Somewhere match. So the only person in the entire building that knows where falls count is the referee, but he can't tell you.
Oh.
So you'd go for like a pin on like the rampway, and the referee would look and go, no. And then they would go over somewhere else, and they'd be on like on the bar table, and they go, no. And like, and then eventually like a plant in the crowd they would fall onto him, and suddenly he's covering. It's like, oh, we have to pin him on this fan. Or like they're on the top rope and the guy goes for a submission and he's like, oh, he counts it. Oh, the top ropes are legal. Like
genius.
Something like that would be really cool. We haven't done that yet, but I keep throwing it out there. Somebody's gonna be bound to do it.
That's great. I really like that one.
Yeah,
Falls Count Somewhere match.
One stupid idea I had that I apparently happened in the South somewhere. Someone told me that they took my idea, but I've never seen it, so I'm still throwing it out there to people. You do a Falls Count Anywhere in the Building match, right?
Right.
Go all over the building, do all the normal Falls Count Anywhere in the Building stuff. Get to like exit door, double doors, whatever you got in front of the set. You throw the guy, he hits the double doors, it opens up. Maybe he takes a slam or he just falls down there. When you go for that cover, referee 1, 2, his foot goes outside the exit door. It's a rope break because the falls only count inside the building.
Oh,
I don't know if it's too inside baseball, but I
like it.
That idea.
I like it.
So I would love to see some. I'll do it one day if they let me. But I would love to see something like that.
Hell yeah.
You know.
Yeah. No, I actually like that one. That one's funny. So where did this all start for you? Because I know you have this glorious backyard career, but let's build to that. Where did it all start?
Oh, where do I? All right. So before all that, you want to go before? Let's go back.
Where does the dream start?
Jeez. Oh, the dream. Jesus. I mean, I'll throw a real quick childhood. Just throw that in there real quick, because like the first thing I ever saw in wrestling was Sting versus Ric Flair, Clash of Champions 1. My parents had the actual VHS tape. I'm not saying I watched it live in 1988 or anything, but like 92 maybe.
Okay.
Because I was born in 88, so
yeah.
But they had the Clash of Champions tape, and like I had no idea of sense of time. Like for all I knew, this happened last week.
Right.
So you know, watching Sting and Flair wrestle 45 minutes was like the coolest thing in the world to me. Yeah. And then I never see a 45-minute match again for like 15 years. But like I grew up on WCW. I grew up on the Southern style wrestling. Although I lived in California and then later Nevada and Utah, my family moved around a lot. But I would always watch WCW, and that really stuck with me, man. I'm on the losing end of everything, man. Let me tell you, I was WCW over WWF. I was Sega Genesis over Nintendo or Super Nintendo.
I'm with you on that one.
I was Dreamcast over over Xbox, and like I had PlayStation 2 though, so
yeah. I was gonna say I went PlayStation when everybody went Xbox.
See, and I went N64 over PlayStation 1, which is kind of controversial now. But I was into Pokemon, but I really got into Digimon, and no Pokemon anymore. I'm sorry. Yeah, like it's like always the losing end, man. Always the losing end. But yeah, so like even when I was in 5th grade, I was given a certificate that every kid in the school got a certificate from their teachers, and mine said most likely to be WWF champion. And I was so mad because
Oh,
I hate WWF. I'm like, I want to be the WCW champion. I'm gonna
I
beat
was so
Goldberg.
excited for you for like 5 seconds, and then
Oh
I
man,
and
but
then you said I was so mad. I was like, oh wait, no, you don't like that.
Oh man, and I was like 10. I remember being 10 years old and being like proud of myself. I'm like, I'm glad, I'm glad I didn't tell that teacher off, But like, I was real mad. She doesn't know. She doesn't know. She doesn't know any better. It's all about
know now. She'll know
yeah.
now when she watches this.
She's definitely
gonna know. Oh, she's definitely.
But sure. The biggest problem. So I lived in Vegas from 97 till 2013. The biggest problem with living in Las Vegas for a wrestling fan, there's no wrestling.
I was gonna say, do you even get shows out there?
No, Raw Roulette, but like, I didn't go to any. I didn't get. My family wasn't want to go. They were WCW people, and then when WCW ended, they were like they talk about the 3 million people who never watch wrestling again.
Yeah,
my entire family was that except me. I genuinely remember like turning on Nitro, the last Nitro. Nobody knew it was the last Nitro. Like, I don't care what anybody says. You turned on, you didn't know. I turned on the last Nitro, and Vince came up, and I thought I was gonna get in trouble because my parents were there, and I was like, oh, I don't want them to think I'm watching like the puppies or whatever and get in trouble.
Right.
And then he does his whole like WCW's in my hands, and I'm like, I don't know what's going on. Like, and it blew my mind. And then the next week I started watching Raw's War. So like I mean literally to the very end I watched WCW, man, and boy was it not worth it, but I did it.
Oh boy, was it not worth it. Oh.
It was not worth it, but I did it. But then that's why now I do the Thunder Buddies podcast, because I probably watched every episode of Thunder when I was a kid. I don't remember most of it, but I did. So watching it back now and just seeing how the 90s does not age well.
Yeah.
And it's very interesting. But every once in a while you see something crazy and you're like, well, that's literally something I've never seen before. And it's 1998,
I remember there was a lot of guys that had innovative moves that, like, I think Reno was a guy's name, right?
Yeah.
And I remember him. Didn't he do Cody Rhodes' finish before Cody Rhodes did his finish?
I was literally gonna say that. I think he called it like roll the dice or something like that.
Yeah. I remember seeing that and I'm like, oh damn. And then I remember seeing Cody Rhodes do it like soon after, and I was like, oh shit, he must be watching Thunder when I was watching Thunder.
It's surprising.
I didn't watch Thunder like live, so I started watching it like once the network came out.
I mean I was WCW through and through. I saw like everyone talks about the night Halloween Havoc where the feed cut out.
Yeah.
That with Goldberg and DDP, that was in Las Vegas.
Oh.
So unfortunately I wasn't able to go, but I ordered the pay-per-view. I ordered the pay-per-view that night. And it was friggin' I think it was the Thomas and Mack Center, I think is where it was.
Yeah.
I was like 20 minutes away from that building. My parents could have taken me. I'll talk to them about it later. But like I remember and Goldberg was my hero, man. Back then, Goldberg was the man. Goldberg comes out, DEP comes out, whichever way it went. They lock up, feed goes out. I'm freaking out. I'm like 10. So I this is like the coolest thing in the world. This is my Hogan Warrior. Like, this is my Rock Hogan. Like, this is the coolest thing in the world to me. And my parents are trying to figure out what the feed is. I remember they're calling on the landline and stuff. Feed comes back. Goldberg's got the belt in the middle of the ring. He's just won the match. That's it. And like I was happy that Goldberg won because Goldberg was my dude.
Right.
The only wrestler poster I ever had on my wall ever was Goldberg. So.
Aw.
Yeah, I know. Now I got a whole bunch of stuff over here anyway. But yeah. So like no one ever mentions this. I bring it up because every documentary mentions the feed cut and all that. WCW sent out gifts to everybody who ordered the feed. So like 2 weeks later, I got a random package from, I don't know if it's a WCW or what, because I didn't see the package, but in the package was like Sting t-shirts and merchandise and stuff as like a sorry. And so, yeah, so like for the next like couple months, I was just rocking around with this like NWO Sting shirt or whatever I had. I don't remember what it was, but like it was definitely a Sting shirt and maybe like a Four Horsemen shirt. And I was like, yeah, this is so cool. Little did I know like why I had all this random merchandise all of a sudden.
I mean, you would probably have bought it anyways. Were you a big Sting fan or no?
Oh yeah, absolutely.
So I mean, it cut a purchase out. I get it.
Yeah, it definitely made my day at the time. Like I was a little kid with like the wrestling ring cake and all that kind of stuff, you know. So absolutely,
the wrestling ring cake.
I had the Amigo figures. I think they were. I can't remember, but they were the figures that like didn't move. So you just had like a Lex Luger like this, so he could torture rack people. Galoob, thank you.
I got you.
Yeah, they have like the torture rack ones and like Flair and like I had all those. It was great. So little did I know why like Scott Steiner looked different all of a sudden, but figure all that stuff out later, you know.
I'll worry about that all later in life.
Yeah.
So then when did you get into like, all right, a lot of people say they backyard wrestled.
Mm-hmm.
You really, really backyard wrestled. So when did that transition happen?
So just to I'll clarify it with everybody. Like everyone talks about backyard wrestling, they think of the guys jumping through the fire and the tables and like weapons. And I went through very few tables. I never did fire. I hated using any weapons. I like technical wrestle in the ring.
I like that.
I still love the chain with people in the ring. Here's a message. Anybody out there in the wrestling world, you see me before a show, tap me on the shoulder. Let's start chaining. I'll do it right in the moment.
I like
so happens all the time. Mike Skyros comes up behind me. Oh, suddenly we're chaining for 40 minutes. What was I getting at? So anyway, so yeah, I will say before I started doing that type of wrestling, I did do a little actual professional training. In Las Vegas, they had a training school called Vegas Championship Wrestling. I trained there for a very short time. I'm not going to say I graduated or anything like that. I'm not going to lie about it. But I did do enough to learn how to bump. I learned, the general understanding of wrestling. The very first thing we learned was backdrops, which to this day, I don't understand why that's the very first thing we learned, but okay.
Hey, you did it.
Yeah. I remember I ran the ropes weird. I lifted my leg like Booker T every time I hit the ropes, and they thought it. So I went up and they thought it was so funny that they never like trained me how to do it differently. And so I had to learn myself in that. But like I got general ground floor understanding of it. And just I really feel like just watching a lot of wrestling also helps with that if you know what you're looking for.
Right.
If you understand the timing and just being safe and stuff like that. So I had some training. I did a little bit of indie work. Usually it was like me being a manager, taking the big bump at the end of the tag match or whatever for my team, like that kind of deal. I had my fair share of like 300-pound guys doing top rope leg drops and landing on my head, and then I couldn't hear for a minute and things like that. So it wasn't all gun drops and rainbows. But I ultimately left that because it was just very people say like wrestling used to be like a little more, I don't know, negative or drama filled. I don't know what you'd call it, but like it was a different vibe than it is now.
Right.
And we're talking like 2009, 2010.
Oh.
So when I literally remember I'm sitting in a shuttle because our dressing room was an actual shuttle bus for these couple indie shows we did. And I'm literally sitting in the back of the shuttle bus and I have the tag team belts on my lap and I have like a suit on because I'm the manager of this tag team. And I've already taken my bumps and all that. I think I took a double-handed sit-out choke slam or some weird choke slam idea this guy had where he like choke slammed me by my face because he's like, like an Undertaker gimmick guy, so he wants to be all creepy. I don't know.
Okay.
The things you remember randomly.
Yeah.
But and I remember this booker was literally being pulled away from a wrestler. They were being pulled apart in front of me because the wrestler figured that he had driven 10 hours to get to this show, so he should go over and defend his belt. And the booker wanted his local guy to win the match because he's the local guy and he's guaranteed to be there every month. And they argued so much to the point where they had to be pulled apart. And really? I like, this company doesn't exist anymore. It's just some random company. But like, this company ended like 4 months later. But like, to me, watching it in the moment, I was like, this is not, I don't want to be part of this. I just wanted to wrestle.
Right.
Like, I just wanted to have fun.
Right.
And like, I don't care who wins.
Yeah.
Like, I just want to have a good time. I just want to be silly and have a good time.
Yeah.
And like I can't hear right now. And this guy squashed my head. Jesus. So I stopped doing that. Kind of reevaluated my life, did some real life stuff for like a year. But the people I met through not just that school, but also through forums, like it was like a little community. And I like anybody who didn't live through the late even early 2000s, just the 2000s in general, doesn't understand like the power of internet forums back then.
Yes.
And like, I feel like it's kind of lost now, but like, I would go on that forum and it's like, I would be talking to Will Ospreay.
That's crazy.
I was talking to, geez, I can name names. It's kind of silly name names, but like, I was talking to people that were now on television all the time. I'll say that much. And back then they were just guys playing around in their backyard, but they were doing such crazy stuff. They were doing these amazing moves, and they had structure, and they were like, it was almost like training on the job, but in a way where like I used to compare it to, if you're like a Stephen King and you're just told you got to write every year, you need to write a new book. It has to be the structure, and it's got to be like this, and so like he's gonna write a good book, and you're gonna sell it, and it's a product, like it's his but he might not have a ton of love or anything. It's not like a Eureka, but it's just it's his novel, it's his book, it's professionally made. You can't hate on it, but it's just, that's what it is. And then you have like people that like make weird like Power Rangers fan fiction or something, where you're like, well, I'm a big fan of the Power Rangers, I'm gonna read this thing, and it's all weird and kind of wacky, but it's funny and fun, or or whatever. Like, it's like a fan fiction, or like a blog, or like some sort of thing where it's just so much creativity in it that even though it's probably not great, it's really creative and really clever, and you can be inspired by it. And you can see the improvement over time to become something really awesome. Every move I see, like I'll throw. I already said Will Ospreay's name. Every time I see Will Ospreay do like a new move, I saw him do it. I saw him do that 10 years ago.
Oh, really?
He has the move he won the IWGP World Title with, Stormbreaker. He gets double arm suplex, and he spins out into a neck breaker, right? People saw that and they were like, I've never seen this move before. This is amazing. I took that move 15 years ago. Like, what? Yes, like this, maybe not 15, but like 10 years ago or something. But like this, to me, these are nothing new. But to the world out there, because it's really wacky stuff, but crafted in a professional atmosphere, it's so fresh. Alex Zane just recently won a match in the Best of the Super Juniors, hitting I think it's like a pump handle Michinoku driver kind of variation. He invented that move on a trampoline in like 2004.
Oh wow.
And he hit me with that move before. So like in 2012, I think. So like here he is doing it to serious Japanese professional wrestlers in the biggest junior heavyweight tournament in the world, and people are like, not only is it great, but like it's people are noticing.
Right.
That's the backyard wrestling I remember. That was what I did. So when I met all these people on the forum, it became kind of like different. So like there'd be groups of people within the same maybe hour of each other, maybe 2 hours, something like that. They get together. Most of them had a ring. could be a training ring, 14 by 14, 16 by 16, 20 by 20, depending on where they lived. The people I interacted with almost always had a ring. If they didn't have a ring, they had a base, so it was still very safe.
Okay.
It would essentially be like pallets with spring, like bed springs almost in between, with a canvas on top. So there was always spring. It was very safe. There'd be guys like in Indiana who would drive to Pennsylvania. Meanwhile, while at the show in Pennsylvania, guys from Kentucky would come to that same show. So guys from Kentucky are wrestling guys from Indiana. Like that kind of thing was starting to happen around 2000. I'd say probably 2009, 2000 to 2011, 12, that kind of thing.
Yeah.
So at this point, I had given up on indie wrestling because there really wasn't any in Vegas. And what I saw wasn't great, so I never really followed up after that incident. So I would travel to Indiana, to Salt Lake City, I wrestled a guy in Salt Lake City for the United States Championship, and then lost it in Allentown, Pennsylvania, or Bethlehem, Pennsylvania, to a guy who lived in New Jersey.
That's crazy.
Yeah, and so we called it the United States title because it was literally all around the United States. That kind of stuff was slowly becoming commonplace through this forum,
right?
And we almost treated it like old school NWA territories kind of thing. So there was like maybe 20 throughout the whole country. Then we started getting guys from the UK. That's where we met Osprey and a couple other folks, and two of them ended up flying out once. So two guys from the UK flew out, wrestled the world champion who lived in Pennsylvania. They won the title, flew it back to the UK, defended it there, and then at some point they flew, after a couple months there, they flew back to New York and lost the title to a Canadian wrestler who then took it back to Canada and defended it against Canadians. Keep in mind, this is nobody's getting paid for this.
Right.
I would say everyone's fairly trained, but not everyone, but most guys are fairly trained.
Right.
It's just there's no fans. The fans are the wrestlers that show up. And sometimes there's 60 to 100 wrestlers that show up. Not every wrestler that showed up got on the show. The first time I ever wrestled Wade was at one of these backyard shows, and there was like 125 wrestlers there. The entire alleyway that was behind this. So it was a backyard, but there was also like a street, like alleyway, like a back alley. So it was blocked off. And there's 125 people. There's a grill. People are cooking. There's lawn chairs all over the place. And I'm wrestling this guy in a ring that I've literally only met once. I flew in from Vegas to defend the U.S. title against him.
So how are you saving up enough at that time to fly?
I had a decent job, and I really didn't do anything else.
Oh, so, okay. I was gonna say, I'm like, holy crap! I mean, sometimes I'll fly places now, but I have a decent little job. I'm not gonna, give it out on the podcast, but I have a good job, and I just think of people not having that great a job when they're young like that.
Mm-hmm. I was lucky that I had a very stable life, and I saved my money. I went out maybe 4 to 5 times a year.
Oh, okay.
And I would go, so it's not, don't think it's like every week, but I would go for maybe 4 to 5 days at a time at the most. So it would be a whole weekend of show. I would wrestle Friday, Saturday, Sunday, sometimes in different locations. And luckily for me, the community was so great. I think of it like how people talk about the brotherhood now. We got our brothers and sisters out there in the wrestling world. These guys are still my friends to this day, whether they wrestle or not. If they needed something, if they needed a place on the street, if they're on the street and they need somewhere to sleep, they could sleep in the bed next door. I have a place for them forever because they were so giving, and it meant a lot to me that I could fly out from Las Vegas to JFK. Some random guy who's never met me before picks me up, doesn't ask for money, nothing. Picks me up, we hang out for a day, drives me to wherever, Pennsylvania or Cooperstown or wherever I gotta go, Jersey. I wrestle there for 3 days. There's somebody houses me and other people who fly in. You know, maybe they'll rent an entire row of like hotel rooms and then just partying the whole night. And there's like 40 kids. I say kids, but you know, we're all in their 20s. Like 40 guys and all partying in these like 4 or 5 rooms. Like it was awesome, man. It like I never went to I went to college, but I never stayed in like a dorm or anything. I can only imagine like that's how some people partied out there.
Oh yeah,
in their college dorms. But like I met so many great guys I still keep up with now. Like even if they're on TV, they're the nicest dudes still. They never forget you.
that's awesome.
So then and I'll that means a lot to me. But so I did that for quite a while. Probably till like 2014 or 15.
Yeah.
So maybe I don't know. Was that like 8 years, 7 years, something like that? I wrestled guys from the UK. I wrestled Canadians. I had pure wrestling matches with actual European, like British trained wrestlers.
That's crazy.
And yeah, and like all right, now I can tie it in. So at the time, I was feuding with a team called the Stepdads.
Oh.
Who I'll break kayfabe a little bit here. Who is the team of Wade Kruger and a guy named Daniel Devine, who some people might know now as our stepson.
Ah.
But back then they were just the Stepdads, and they didn't do the whole gimmicky stuff. The idea was more for like a sports. It was like sports related, because the Stepdads was a fantasy football team that Wade came up with. I believe Wade came up with it. Because we beat you and you hate us. So it was really just they were like jerk off, like fantasy football wannabe jocks kind of thing.
Right.
Like the Monday morning quarterbacks. Like that was their actual gimmick. But they would have like support your local stepmoms with like strip clubs, like all that kind of stuff. Or like at one point they had world's best dad trophy, but then it's scratched out, so it's stepdad. It was fun. They did a little bit of spanking stuff, and I was the rival all the time, just because we always got booked against each other.
Yeah,
and some of those bookers too. Now they're indie bookers, so good for them. But they over time, everyone started to move on. Everyone slowly became more pro and stuff. Like obviously, guys like Alex Zane, Osprey, all moved on.
Right.
And the community started to shrink because people just, I guess, because I wasn't there, I couldn't tell. I guess at some point, like the wrestling community, the pro wrestling community, indie wrestling community, kind of changed and became more open to new people, and like, I guess just for lack of a better term, everyone wasn't a jerk anymore.
Right.
And so more of my friends started to open up to it. And then next thing you know, they're asking me like, hey, would you want to do some extra training and try to, do this proper?
Right.
And when I say I was done with indie wrestling, I genuinely was like, I'm never going to have another indie wrestling match. Like, I really never thought I would. This is like 2015. Like, if you asked me in December of 2015, I'd be like, no. And in January 2016, I had one. So I was already helping train for a company in Pennsylvania. I just asked if they needed a commentator. I was like, I love doing commentary. You want me to help do it? And they're like, sure. And yeah, they put me on commentary, but they also have put me in Triple Threat. So I had a Triple Threat. They aired it on the local TV and everything, and that was really fun. And I had a great time, man. It felt good. I felt natural to get back into that stuff, like working in audience and like the pacing and stuff. Because when you're in the indie, when you're in the yard, you're trying to pop everyone else.
Yeah.
And to me, that's way harder. Like I'm sure you've been to a show or two, especially during the pandemic. At a time where the audience is the wrestlers.
Yes.
And yeah, they can cheer and be nice and stuff because they want to help your match, but you can tell when like you did something to genuinely pop them.
Right.
And that's all that's what we were doing the entire time. We were just trying to genuinely pop guys who are jaded from 10 years, 20 years of watching wrestling. How you pop those kind of guys? You got to do some crazy stuff.
Right.
And so going to the indie level and kind of simplifying it and making it understandable to any audience, it was I didn't learn overnight, but it was something I could easily understand and get into. So I was a singles guy for about a year.
Oh.
I was the Sin City Saint, Radley Belmont. Because I was from Las Vegas, obviously. I was a Las Vegas gambler. And I'd even come out to the ring with a mysterious concoction that might make me a little loopy in the ring, which was a personal choice because I was literally back into my first. To me, it was rookie year all over again. So I was like, oh, if I ever botch anything, I'll just blame the alcohol.
Smart,
which worked great. So really, did I ever botch? Really? No, exactly.
Never.
But that worked great, and I was having a genuinely good time trying to rediscover, my character and everything.
Yeah.
And around this point, I moved into the house that Wade's family owns, which is this house here. Wade and I live in the same house.
That's awesome.
I always say it because, it doesn't break kayfabe or anything. Like, we live in the same house. He lives on the top floor. I live on the bottom floor, just right here.
Hey.
We do most of the promos and skits in this room. So this is kind of the stepdad's room. That's why I have all this stuff just hanging here. But, and it's the podcasting room. But, yeah. And so I don't know if Wade talked about in his podcast. He used to be a photographer.
Yes.
So he saw how much fun I was having because clearly I like to talk a lot. I've been talking a lot. You haven't even had to ask a question forever. I'm just talking.
I'm good with it. I enjoy the stories, baby.
No, I could talk all day. That's the problem. But he saw how much fun I was having, and I tell him all this stuff. And once again, I was more often than not wrestling guys we knew from the community, from the forum, from the backyard days. So I was like, hey, you should come by, take photos of the show, hang out, have a good time. He's like, yeah, sure, cool. We go out. We have, he comes. I think the first show he came to was a church show that had Ted DiBiase doing a sermon.
Oh,
and since you want to hear stories, that was the night I accidentally main evented a show.
How do you accidentally main event?
So at the time I was a tag team champion.
Right.
We were supposed to be semi-main against another tag team called the Cash Masters.
Oh, I know them.
Yeah, I love the Cash Masters. Even though kayfabe-wise, I have no idea who they are. They're losers. But
jerks.
Exactly. What a bunch of maroons.
Yeah.
But I love those guys. And this is my very first time meeting them. We're wrestling them for our tag titles.
Oh.
We have the match. Genuinely thrilled about the match. Main event's supposed to happen right behind us. Something happens where I don't know if Ted himself was like, hey, it's getting kind of late. I got to do my sermon. Or if they kind of realized the time was going and they just wanted to make sure that he got his stuff in.
Yeah.
But somehow, some way, he goes out right after us, and we're in the back like, oh, isn't the title, the main event supposed to happen? Isn't the world title match going to happen? He goes out and he's like, oh, hey guys, I'm glad. And he starts talking, they're in the church, so he's talking a lot of religious stuff,
right?
About beliefs and all that kind of stuff. About he's telling his life story as well at the same time.
Right.
And we're like, this is going to be really weird for him to talk for 10, 20 minutes, and then the main event's going to happen. And, all right, we're just kind of watching, and 5 minutes, 10 minutes, 20. We get to 30 minutes, and the promoter, or it might have been the promoter by book or somebody in the headset turns to me and they go, "Congratulations, you were just the main event," and put his headphone down. And Ted continued to go for 45 minutes.
Oh,
by which most of, I'm not gonna say most, a good portion of the crowd had already left.
wow.
Like, so after the so that was the end of the show. And I remember when they released the footage, they didn't release that part. So
wow.
yeah, so the actual main event happened the next show, but and they had I think they public apologized and stuff, which I don't know if it was their fault, but at least they did, I guess. But so that was the time that was my first indie main event. And
Thank you,
I remember but the funny part about it is after the show, Wade's leaving with me and he's like, I really liked your match and stuff. And I was like, oh, thanks, I appreciate that.
Yeah.
And he's like, man, I'm thinking about getting back into this.
And that did that rebirth.
Yeah, there you go. And he started doing a little training and got back into it. I'd say maybe he had maybe 6 matches before we teamed up. And I was at every show he was at because we couldn't figure out exactly how we could just team up randomly. You know what I mean? Right. So we ended up going to a Warriors of Wrestling taping.
Yeah.
One of those back in, I think it was November of 2016.
I was going to say, they used to wasn't that every first Sunday or something like that?
Yeah. Yes, it was. And
I remember them.
And we were going there, I think it was maybe every other month, but it was definitely the first Sunday.
Yep.
And we went there for 6 months, 8 months, every 6 shows in a row, maybe, because we were just trying to get reps in.
Right.
The whole thing was, I said this in the Yard days. I was like, if I ever team with anybody, because I was a singles guy almost the entire time.
Right.
And I was like, if I ever did a team up thing, I would want it to be for the long run. I don't want to team up with someone for 4 months and that's it. But Wade's always been there. I literally wrestled him the first time I traveled out to the Northeast.
Yeah.
In 2011. So I was like, he's the guy I would team up with. I don't know what we do, but he's the guy I would team up with because I wrestled him so many friggin' times when he was the Stepdads that I was like, I literally remember I walked in the living room and he was on his computer and I was like, why don't we just be the Stepdads? And he's like, oh, play up the gimmick? And I'm like, yeah, I mean, there is no gimmick. We're already corny. We already say all this stuff. Everyone says I sound like I'm 50 the way I talk. We might as well just be the Stepdads. We're just emphasizing what we are already.
Right.
I like the joke that the Stepdads is us. If we're a 10, the Stepdads is us turned to 9. We're already there. So, and he was like, yeah, that sounds really cool. And we got robes. We got some professional pictures. We got these really nice professional pictures done with it looked like your background with the wood and everything. We had a home sweet home banner and all that, but it was just parts of our house.
Yeah.
We didn't have to go anywhere. We already got an old fashioned house. So we took all these photos. We got in with Warriors of Wrestling. Started working there. We got to wrestle a lot of great people. Right off the bat, we're wrestling Sonny Kiss and Steve Off and Dickie Moon and all these guys. The very first time we were there, we wrestled Jake Logan, Mr. Grimm. Our second match ever. Our first and second match ever happened on the same day. The second one had Mr. Grimm, and let me tell you, I love Mr. Grimm. I love Mr. Grimm to death, but man, when he does a splash into a corner, that could be a finish. That's like a freight train hitting you. It's crazy.
Jesus.
Love it though. And yeah, we started doing that. Mr. Grimm actually got us booked in Rhode Island, and with Wrestling the Cash Masters, we got booked in Pennsylvania for True Wrestling. It just kind of snowballed from there, and I don't know how it happened. It just happened, and now we're all over the place. I mean, like I said, we were just in Rhode Island. Right before that, we were in Massachusetts for Test of Strength Wrestling. We're gonna right before that we were with LTW in New Jersey.
Okay.
So we're jumping all over the place now, and that's
kind of
really
what you
fun,
have
man.
to do though. Like, I feel like you have to travel. I feel like if you get stuck in an area, you become like the upstate New York guy, or you're like the Jersey guy, or the New York City guy, or the PA guy. And I feel like you never want to be that. Like, I feel like if you travel a lot, you meet more people too. You meet more connections and get put out more.
I'm a real big picture guy. So
Yeah.
I never think about just one promotion, just one place. Like when I'm at that promotion, that's my number one priority that night. I'm gonna do the best I can. I'm representing that promotion.
Right.
You know, that is 100% how I think. I don't think about the next place. I'm thinking about this one. But when like it really ties back to those yard days, I would travel 4.5 hours to a backyard show to wrestle on a base in front of like 20 bikers.
That's awesome.
who would rev their bikes when we did something cool. Like, and to me that was awesome. Like I felt like a superstar.
You were at Hog Wild, baby.
That's right.
Yeah.
That's right. Not a NWO member in sight, but still.
Hey man, it's okay.
And like that kind of stuff was so cool to me that the traveling was so common for me.
Yeah.
By that point, that I never saw the point of just staying in one place. You know, I don't want to be somebody who's just known as like, and I'm not saying like if you're like, oh, they're the Buffalo Boys or something, that's different. That's where you're from. That's where you're trained. That's totally different from being like, oh, that guy just wrestles in Central Pennsylvania. That's just Central Pennsylvania guy or something, or whatever. Like, I never saw the value in just staying in one place because you can only do so much in one place. And I want to do everything, man. I want to wrestle everybody. Like, it's going to be real hard to wrestle everybody if I'm only working one show a month. It's going to take like, I don't know if I'm going to last to like 150 years old. So I gotta do more than that.
Get it in while you can get it in.
Absolutely. And that's always been my mindset. I don't know, man. Like I moved around a lot when I was a kid. So like, to me, it's nothing. I love being on the road.
Yeah.
I drove 11 hours. That Rhode Island trip was 5 hours one way, 4 hours back. And to me, that was just, that was no problem.
That was
I got paid. I got my compensation. I had my match. What's to complain about? I got to wrestle. I got to do what I wanted to do,
You can't be.
And I sold t-shirts. Buy a Stepdad's t-shirt, everybody.
Merch.
That's right. And we put all our merch money right back into merch and into gear and all that kind of stuff. So
recycle.
Absolutely. You gotta recycle.
Yeah.
But yes.
I don't know if you know what we do here on Moran and Friends.
Oh, please tell me.
We scour your Instagram.
Okay, I've heard about this. I heard about this.
And we find photos, and hopefully you have a little story, or we could just talk about the photo. So if you don't have a story, we're just going to talk about the photo. But
don't worry, I can make one up. Don't worry.
All right, good. Here's photo one.
Oh man.
So how did the sitting on someone and reading the paper come up? How did you think of this?
So first of all, I want to say that is my favorite newspaper I've ever had for any match ever.
Do your job?
Because that night we did the job, and I thought it was so fitting. It was a spoiler, but you wouldn't know until the end of the match. And I only used it for this match. A fan took the newspaper, so I only used it for this match.
Did you sign it?
I would have if he came up and showed, he said, "Hey,
he just stole
took your paper." Now I have other. Now I have like genuine like Batman 1989 newspapers and stuff. Like, great. But as far as the sitting thing, I'll be very honest and say I stole it from New Japan Pro Wrestling.
Oh.
It's the Paradise Lock. Essentially, you tie the person up, mock them, give them a drop kick. The idea being that they are hog-tied and their own weight kind of holds them down just long enough that when you kick them in the butt or spank them, in my case, it unhinges their body. It's like it's wrestler logic, you know, but it works.
Right.
It's probably my favorite thing that I do. It's kind of like nobody else really does it. This particular match though was fantastic because like I would honestly say this I don't know, maybe Wade thinks another match is cleaner or better or what.
He does.
To me, this all right, good, because this is my favorite match.
He agrees.
This is my favorite match. I love this. Like, to me, this is like everything we can do.
Yeah.
He literally. I love that match. So it's Stepdads versus Ugly Ducklings, wrestled for nearly 30 minutes, if I remember right.
Yeah, that's what Wade said.
And some of it was on the fly. The comedy was on the fly. Some of it wasn't. Like, I got the chain in the match on the fly. I got to do comedy. We slowed time at one point. Stunners, pile drivers. They hit me with the launch pad McQuack. Like, I love that match. It's fantastic. That's my favorite match, and it won the New York Championship Wrestling match of the year for 2019.
See,
so
even the fans agree.
Oh my goodness gracious!
Here he is.
Look at those trunks. Oh
yeah, baby.
So, I first of all, I'll say you'll notice I'm wearing those trunks because the guy behind me has other trunks.
Yep.
And I had to match him.
Right.
Otherwise, boy, do I look terrible in those trunks. I do still have the vest though. I really like that vest, and I have used it once in the Blue Moon. Especially, you know how every once in a while a wrestling show will have some sort of gambling themed name or something, so I can I'll get to use that vest that night. Like I mentioned, old school Radley Belmont used to be quite a drinker before he got married and became a stepdad. So he, whenever he screwed up in matches, he could just blame the alcohol. It was actually apple juice, which I really enjoy, good apple juice. But the very first time I ever came out with that glass, it actually was glass. Instead of plastic. So when I got into the ring, I set it in the corner. I had my entire match and then left. The next match came in, and during their match, or right when their match is happening or whatever, the glass was still there in the ring and fell out of the corner and shattered in front of the crowd. And then like people freaked out and stuff. And like nobody got mad at me, but I was like, I'm going to go to plastic from now on.
Switch to plastic, baby.
Yeah. Oh man. So here we go again.
This team name?
This was what were we? What were we? Why am I forgetting this all of a sudden? We were the house. What were we? Oh boy. I feel really bad that I can't think off the top of my head.
What's your partner's name?
So that's Alex Cross.
He was hair now. Or that?
Yes, I know,
lots
right?
Of hair. Lots of hair.
Believe it or not, Alex Cross was the first backyard wrestler I ever interacted with. I responded, or I posted on a YouTube video of his. In like 2000, very early 2008, maybe, or something. And we actually communicate. Like, it's weird to say now. I don't know if people still do it. Maybe they do. But we actually like talked through YouTube messaging.
Oh wow!
And never met the guy. Just thought he was really funny, really cool.
Yeah.
And fast forward maybe 3-4 years later, I met him in person. We teamed up in the yard. Hung out, and then in the pros, I teamed up with him again, and I love the guy. He's great. Unfortunately, we did not hold the tag team titles very long, but
hey, at least you were champs, you know?
Exactly. That's what I'm saying. In my eyes, this is probably back then. I was like, this is my one title reign. Like, that's how I thought of it. So I tried to make the most of it. And I had a great time with it. I remember we came out to, I we came out the House of the Rising Sun originally.
Oh, nice.
And I remember that. Man, I really feel bad that I can't remember the team name. Oh,
Well,
there we
know
go.
This team name.
Oh, yes. That's the San Diego Padres right there. But no. Home sweet home. This is exactly what I was talking about.
I know. I was like, oh, good thing you're bringing it up, because I
love them foreshadowing all this stuff. Yeah. At some point, I'll remember that old tag team name too. But this is so the couch right next to us is literally, or the recliner is literally the recliner he was in when I was like, let's just be the stepdads. So this is right in the front of the house, coat hangers, so you can see. As you can tell, the smoking pipe and the glasses are still in our t-shirts, our original t-shirt image, because it's so prototype. Like we were still trying to figure out exactly what we were going with and stuff.
Right.
I think Wade had those glasses for like one show, and I had the smoking pipe for maybe 6 months.
Yeah.
And then I think we wrestled at a school or something, and they were like, "You can't have that smoking pipe here." And I'm like, "I don't really smoke anyway, so why do I bother?"
Yeah.
And then it worked way better when we tell kids not to smoke.
Oh, hey.
Which does happen. When we wrestled Young, Dumb, and Broke, the entire match was based around the fact that they were trying to smoke.
Oh, see, I like that.
So there you go. Ah.
Good old spanking.
The big old spank, man. I'm telling you. If there's anything in our wrestling that... Oh, I figured it out. We were the House of High Stakes. That was our tag.
There it is. House of High
just
Stakes.
needed to know. And shout out to Alex Cross, too. But people, in the locker rooms, people always... Not always, but like they'll go up and be like, "Hey, is anybody winning with a crossface tonight? Is anybody winning with a roll up tonight? Is anybody doing a flying crossbody to the outside tonight?"
Yeah.
There's never been a time where we've had to look at everybody and just to do it. One time at Truly Independent Wrestling, I did do it. I looked around the entire room and I said, "Excuse me, everybody. And like 30 people looked at me, and I said, "Listen, I don't want to bother you guys right now, but is anybody spanking their opponents tonight?" And to my surprise, they were not. So no, the spank is our trademark for sure.
Consider it. I like that.
Of course. Oh man,
where is this gear? I don't think I've ever seen you wear this.
So this is, it's funny because we were talking about my singles wrestling. This is pretty much my singles gear.
Oh.
But I don't really wrestle singles all that much these days. But I love this gear. It looks so clean. This is when I was really trying to lose weight, so like I was feeling real good about myself at this point, because I believe this is during the pandemic.
Yeah.
And I still have this gear. This gear is just sitting there waiting. It's still clean. I think I've used it maybe twice.
Okay.
But the other thing is, right after this, we got our Outsiders gear.
Yes.
And so as a team, obviously, we want to look. That was probably the biggest criticism we had of ourselves for a very long time, is that we didn't quite match.
Right.
And now we have exactly matching gear, and we're definitely going to get more. So, like, this is like, oh, Radley's in a battle royal. Radley's in a singles tournament. Radley's.
Okay.
Maybe if we do like a 6-man tag, I might break this out because all 3 of us will look different. That's happened before. But so I've definitely only used this like a handful of times.
I've never seen it.
Yeah. I'm pretty sure KTB F5 me out of the ring in that gear during a battle royal.
Okay.
So like stuff like that, but I will definitely be breaking it out again. No doubt.
I like it. I like it a lot. Mm-hmm. Here's a little foreshadowing.
Oh yes. So like I said, like there's a smoking pipe, there's the glasses.
Yeah.
So this is our official theme song. This is custom made. I absolutely love it. It's gonna be all right. We've been using it a lot lately, different companies, because it's non-copyrighted music. I recommend any independent wrestler out there, even if you just want to get like a cover-ish version of a song because you think it fits your vibe or whatever, definitely get some sort of copyright-free music, because then you can use it everywhere, and it's gonna, when you show up as a surprise and stuff, it's gonna hit so much harder. So I absolutely recommend it.
Also, you're foreshadowing to someone else that's on this season of the podcast, old John Kieran there.
I love him. Shout out to him. Ah, who's that guy?
I don't know. He's kind of tubby. I don't know what he is. I don't know who that guy is. That's why I took this photo, because I was like, oh, you can't see how fat my face was.
Oh, man, come on. I love doing live promos, and we don't get to do them enough, but NYCW let us do a handful of them while we were there, and I love doing that, even when we did like the New Age Outlaw stuff.
Yeah,
but that's also the night that we had our match.
Oh yeah.
And like that, just that night in general really changed my mindset in wrestling and in fitness, and how I wanted to dictate my future in wrestling. And like, I have a lot of people to thank. I definitely have you to thank for that as well, man. So thank you.
Thank you.
Because this night I was not looking at my best. I remember I picked you up for the Sidewinder suplex, and I didn't have as much power as I thought I would, and stuff like that. And it was like, man, something's got to change, you know?
Yeah. Well, I mean, I was also like 240, so I don't blame you for not having all the power in the world there.
Fair.
Oh,
yes.
Look at that. Beautiful.
Do you know what we call this move?
No.
Obviously, the world knows it as the heart attack. We call it the early bird special.
I like that.
It was our very first finisher. Now, we're not using it as a finisher in this match, but it was the first finisher we had. We used it against a couple teams, Middlesex Express.
Oh, okay.
So, yeah, like very early on, because we wanted to tease the Doomsday device that we call the Father's Day device. We teased that move for maybe like 8 months or something, quite a long time. And so our logic was that we would go to different places, True Wrestling, Nova Promotions, stuff like that, where we would always call for this random thing called the Father's Day device, but then never hit it. And so then we'd either hit this move or we'd lose or whatever. And then when we finally, after months and months and months, we'd finally have a big match where it's like, this is the moment. This is our big win. We hit the Doomsday device and people flipped out. And I would say that got us over at True Wrestling. Like, that was the thing that made the shift for us to like really become a big deal there for a while. And the same, actually with NYCW, we walked right in and hit the Doomsday device the first night. So there you go. But
because you guys are some bamfs, you know.
We got a million finishers, man. We got like 5 now.
You got all them falsies now, you know.
Absolutely.
You never know when it's gonna end. You never know.
I'm always good with that Kings Road style. I'll use 2 finishers before the third one gets you, as long as it's different every time, you know.
See,
I'm fine with that. Oh yes, who is that?
That sexy Santa Claus. Who is that?
So this is my thirst trap.
Oh,
this was actually a joke at a Christmas party. I was with my girlfriend at a Christmas party, and so that's why the Christmas robe and all that stuff. After the show, I say show, geez, everything's wrestling related. After the Christmas party, I came back and I was like doing like, you know, like a Ric Flair kind of coming around, strutting kind of stuff. Clearly, I still have my clothes on though, so it's not exactly like Ric Flair. Yeah. But I'm doing all that kind of stuff, and this was one of the pictures that my girlfriend took, and boy, she thought it was the silliest thing in the world. I don't know why. I get a weird like a silly Zack Ryder vibe from it.
Yeah, I can see
if that makes any sense.
Yeah,
but
I see that.
So like, I don't know. When I die, you can put this picture on my casket there. That'll work for everybody. But yeah, no, this is not me and all the time. I don't want anyone to think that this is how I act or how I am.
That's exactly how he acts all the time.
No. It's all gimmick, folks. It's all gimmick.
Oh, I love this picture, by the way. It's just like
it tells such a story, right?
Yeah, I really love it.
I love wrestling the Ugly Ducklings. We've wrestled them 3 times, and they get us and we get them, and like the stuff like this, the moment is perfect. This is exactly what I meant by like the thermostat. We sit up, we look super angry, and this might be the first time we ever did it. And I like I said, I cannot say enough good stuff about this match. In the chemistry with those guys, I'd wrestle those guys any day of the week. If they were like, come to North Carolina in 2 weeks and come wrestle us, I would do it. I'd be there. The first time we wrestled them was in New Jersey for the Fest tag team titles, which are titles based in Florida.
Yes.
So there you go. It almost reminds me of the backyard days of like this random belt from over here is over here and over there. But yeah, I love those guys.
So how many tag team titles have you won?
I believe it's 5. I think what you see is what we got. So first tag titles obviously in the corner. So that's SWO. I had True Wrestling after that, where we had a Christmas street fight where I had a Christmas tree that was plugged into the wall on the set the entire time. He ripped it out from like a cartoon. He ripped it from the cord and then threw it at me. And we somehow got through that, and Doomsday Device won the tag belts there. The 2 in the right-hand corner are the NYCW tag belts. You're familiar with those under a different design. And the Truly Independent Wrestling tag team titles, which we had for, if I remember, 615 days.
Ooh.
Which was really cool. We were already the longest reigning anything TIW champions before the pandemic hit. And then the pandemic hit. So there you go.
Wait, so what's the one to the left there that says The Real Shame If?
So the one to the left is from a company called Tough and Talented Wrestling, 2TW. That's our current belts. Like that's literally behind me right now. So there's your mirror belts.
Oh, very nice. Very nice.
But yeah, so we got those now. Those are in Connecticut.
Oh, okay.
And we surprisingly enough, we defended them against Buff Inc. twice. Who'd have thunk it?
Goddamn Buff Inc.
One of those days, Buff Inc. will beat us, but it hasn't happened yet.
Not yet.
But, oh, yes. So you have Stepfather Christmas and the Elf. This was, I don't know if this was happening during, yes, this is, okay. So this is happening in our comeback, I believe, when we came back to NYCW. That shirt, that sweater I'm wearing was a Christmas gift from Wade.
Aww.
I know, right? What a guy.
How sweet.
The one Wade's wearing is the exact same one from that first promo pic ever. So he never switches his sweaters.
Well, no, he said it's his legendary sweater.
It's the iconic one.
Goodwill?
Yes, that's right. I always seem to forget the name of Goodwill as well all the time. That's like a running theme in my life. But yeah, he's got the, if there's an action figure, that's definitely the sweater. But yeah, this is like one thing that we also try to do. I don't know if everyone else does it. I never really paid attention enough to see, but we try to change our gear for the season.
Yeah.
So for Christmas, we'll wear Santa Claus robes, that kind of stuff. Like those hats are mine. We'll wear different types of sweaters. Obviously, I gotta wear this sweater all the time. This is an amazing sweater.
Right.
But we try to keep it real Christmassy. During the fall, I might wear the bathrobe, maybe a sweater here and there. Summer gear, literally the shirt I'm wearing, I wear it to the ring a couple of times. And then spring is usually like very heavy sweater. So right now we're just breaking into the summer gear.
I like it. It freshens it up. It's not the same thing every time.
I got this at the very tail end of summer last year, so it's still like pretty fresh for this year's gear.
Fresh to death.
Look at that fan. He is so proud of us. He's like, no, there's our stepdads. Oh yeah.
There's the paper you were talking about, Batman.
Yes, that is. So many people almost get upset backstage when they see it because they think it's going to get like shredded or something.
Right.
It's never. It doesn't have a scratch on it. It's just worn because it's old. That's a legitimate. I think June 2nd, 1989 newspaper that happened to talk about the Batman movie that was coming out that weekend, or I think it was coming out that weekend. So like a couple days later. Wade's jacket there, if I remember, is his old what is it? Kodiak Bear jacket when he was the Kodiak from his very short singles run.
Oh.
Also note on the bottom, his kick pads are fake boot laces.
Yes, they are.
Which
discussed last week.
Oh, okay. So yeah, so he got me that sweater. I got him those fake boot laces, so he matched mine.
See? And it's the opposite of your boots, and I know that because we talked.
Oh, there you go.
Yeah, we talked all about them bootsies.
Yes.
Damn, nailing him with that knee.
That's the bee's knee right there.
Yeah.
So this match is still one of my favorite matches I've ever had. Andy and Arbo are two. To me, they're legends in the indie wrestling world, but they're absolutely legends in the backyard wrestling world.
Okay.
When I say they wrestled everybody from the old days, who are big. I don't want to throw names out there, but like they like Andy went to Australia once and wrestled guys. Like he wrestled Canadian wrestlers in Australia. Like
wow.
Arbo and him, they used to team up back then. They were incredible. And even when I was a part of backyard wrestling, I would help book shows. I would book them once in a while on our show, and it was like two legends coming to the show. Like it was amazing. So unfortunately, the wear and tear of wrestling has gotten to them. Andy had to stop wrestling for quite a long time. Arbo, I don't know exactly what happened to Arbo. I think he just has some real life stuff. So they both haven't wrestled in quite a while. I think for Andy, it might be 3 years. For Arbo, it might be 5.
Oh, wow.
Not quite. Yeah. And I was hit up about wrestling them. Andy specifically asked to wrestle us because he knew us from those backyard days. He knew we would have a crazy match with them that fit their style, and we would help them out if they really needed it. I was overjoyed. I wouldn't have traded this match for pretty much anything, man. Like this is so awesome to me in a personal level. And I'll tell you right now, man, those guys did not miss a beat. I thought I'd have to slow down for them. And very early on in the match, I was like, early on in the match, we're both supposed to do a double kip up, like a double drop kick miss, double kip up. And I kipped up slowly to kind of see if I can match him. And he kipped up so fast, he made me look slow. He didn't miss a step. And maybe in his eyes he did, which means that he's even faster. I don't know, but I absolutely love this match. There's a couple of moves I've only really seen from that. It's another kind of backyard wrestling creativity going into the pros kind of thing. I absolutely love this match. Match ended with a crucifix pin at the last minute. 1, 2, 3. They were generous enough to give us the win, and it was also kind of a callback to the fact that I used to do a crucifix driver. But I absolutely love those guys. I don't know if they're ever going to wrestle again. I think they just wanted to have this one big match. The crowd was very emotional. You can just see in this picture, they're like, people did clap and stuff, but people were just like, it's weird to say, they were mesmerized by seeing Andy and Arbo again because they wrestled so much in this area. And for true wrestling, Andy was such a big deal, wrestling Fire Ant and Tony Deppen and main eventing a lot of their early shows.
Yeah.
He had a lot of family there. Like it was really special. I can't emphasize that enough. That was really special. And this is like like it was like this match, we had a Cash Masters match, and the Rock and Roll Express all in like a couple of weeks. Like we felt like $1 million, man. Let me tell you, that was awesome. Wow, look at that shirt. So,
explain.
First of all, look at this. I love this jersey. The fun story about this jersey.
Mm-hmm.
There used to be a wrestler named Oswald Project. Have you ever heard of him? Oswald Project. He was a I don't know if it was, I don't think professionally, but he could contort his body.
Oh, okay.
So yeah, so he would do very like interesting moves and stuff. Like he would get like lariated and he would flip the lariat, but then like Gumby his way slowly back to his feet, almost like unnaturally.
Huh.
And he couldn't be like beaten with a submission because you pull his leg and you kick him in his own head with his own leg and he wouldn't feel it because he's just so bendable and stuff.
Jeez.
He wrestled for he was very hot for like 6 months. Like he wrestled for Pizza Party and Beyond and a couple other places that maybe 01, a couple stuff places like that. Wow. And then he kind of faded away. I think maybe he did it for fun for a little while and then moved on. I don't think he was looking at it as like wrestling was the be all end all for him.
Right.
But he was and I'm sure still is one of the nicest people I've ever met in life. And he started as a backyard wrestler, did some stuff with that and then faded away. But when he started getting back into the pros, it was because people would come with him to shows and training and stuff, and he would tag along. So I tell you all this because it was for WrestleMania, where HTW, and we're at that show. I literally he comes in and he goes, he comes up and he sees me. He goes, "Oh, it's so nice to see you." And I'm like, "Oh, it's great to see you, man." And he was wearing this jersey. And I'm a big Ninja Turtles guy. Since I was a kid, Ninja Turtles is awesome. Like I can't get enough of it. So I immediately recognized the 84. That's the year Ninja Turtles debuted in the comics, like all that kind of stuff. I said, man, and it was literally as easy as, "Oh, hey, how you doing? Oh, good. Man, I love your jersey." And he looked at me and he said, "Well, do you want it?"
Whoa.
And I went, "Sure." They're like, "What do I say?" No, I just went,
right.
Sure. And he took it right off his back. And like the cliche, he literally just gave me the shirt off his back because I liked it. And then proceeded to wear no shirt for the rest of the day, just playing guitar in the middle of the ring while everyone's watching WrestleMania on a giant projector. And I was like, I guess he just doesn't like Ninja Turtles that much. I don't know. But that was the kind of guy, like, he just wanted to give to people. He just wanted to be nice. And literally. So like,
his back.
I can never, and I would say like, oh, it was really strange. I don't know what to think about it. But like knowing him for the few years I did, that's just how he was. Like it was almost my fault. I should have said no. You know what I mean? But I'm sure, like I said, I'm sure he's still an amazing guy. If anybody out there knows Oswald Project or has seen him, tell him I love that guy. He's an amazing soul, amazing person. So, yeah.
I'm happy to hear that story. That's awesome.
And there they are. That's them. Unbreakable Andy Harner and Aaron Arbo. It was also really cool to have my man here as referee because he used to referee a lot of Chikara matches back in the day. Obviously, Pennsylvania referee. That's right. And
he was just on.
Oh yeah.
Yes.
Fantastic. I love that guy. And I've been on his podcast a few times too. So when I started watching, when I moved here and I started hanging out with Wade, at his house and stuff, because he still lived in an apartment at the time. I still lived in Pennsylvania. We would watch a lot of Chikara. And to this day, if we're down or I guess like really bored and we're like, oh, let's just kill some time, or one of us help the other, we'll watch mid 2000s Chikara. Because every Chikara show we watch from that era, there's so much going on. There's so many characters, so many moves, so many spots, so many moments that there's absolutely no way you won't take something away from every show. Be it comedy or really cool reversal from like an arm bar or some sort of arm drag. Like there's something amazing. And just the psychology of tag team wrestling. I mean, every Chikara match back then was a tag team match. So you can learn so much about the psychology of tag team wrestling just drilling yourself watching these Chikara shows. And Wade has like, I really couldn't say how many, but definitely like dozens, if not maybe 100 Chikara show DVDs and Ring of Honor DVDs and probably IWA Mid-South and like anything from that mid 2000s era. That's his, much like how WCW was my my happy place. That's his happy place. And Matt here was a big part of that. He's in a lot of those Pennsylvania shows from the mid maybe a little later 2000s. So, and when we went to True, we were like, that's really cool, you know, that he's the ref here. But we never had a match with him as our referee until literally we have our tag team title match for the True title, tag titles, the last show of the year, or the main event. We're in that Christmas street fight, and he's the one that comes in and counts to 3 and raises our hands. And I think we did like a ref swap at some point or something. I don't quite remember. I don't think he was there the entire time. So he came in later and raised our hands. So all the pictures of us holding the belt is with him. So like, and that was before he became a friend and all that. We just thought it was really cool that a Chikara alumni was raising our hands when we were winning tag team belts in Pennsylvania. Like it all just came full circle.
That's pretty awesome. Yeah. I didn't even think about that. Like that's an awesome moment.
Absolutely.
And your last photo.
Oh, look at this guy.
Oh, so dapper.
Oh, dashing, if you will. So
question. Yeah. How big of a Scott Hall fan are you?
So like I said, WCW was everything to me when I was a kid. So Scott Hall, to me, Scott Hall was the coolest guy in wrestling. And I think some people think he still is like the coolest guy ever in wrestling. But I mean, like Scott Hall was so cool. Like to me, the NWO wouldn't have worked without Scott Hall. Scott Hall is the NWO to me. And I don't mean that as he's the leader or he's the poster boy, but it's almost like they took Scott Hall, the gimmick, and made the NWO. Like that's, especially now when I watch Thunder, it feels more and more like that. When the less Scott Hall you see on screen, the more you're like, well, this is just Hogan and some guys. Like the vibe that you get from those early NWO promos and stuff, the attitude, like the too cool for school attitude that they give, like Nash has, and Hogan slowly gets over time. That's just what Scott Hall already has.
Yeah,
I mean. Later on, I learned a lot more about his work as Razor Ramon, and to me,
I forgot that you didn't watch WWF.
Yes. All right, so I'm gonna blow your mind, Johnny. I'm gonna blow your mind. So when I was, so I had WCW. Sorry, I had WrestleMania 2000, and on WrestleMania 2000 they had Pat Patterson. It was either Pat Patterson or Jerry Briscoe in the game. And he came out to Real American. So a couple of years later, when Hulk Hogan
Wait a minute. Time out. We got to pause. So when Hulk Hogan was in WCW, that meant like, you're like, who the fuck is this guy with Fu Manchu and a balding head?
So to me, you gotta remember, like 95, I would have been like 7.
Yeah. So like that's what I'm saying. Like you didn't like, because like
I don't really remember red and yellow Hulk Hogan.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's
To me, I knew that
crazy.
existed because they show old footage and stuff. But to me,
Yeah.
Hollywood was my first introduction to Hogan that I can remember. I'm sure when I was a kid, I watched Superstars or something, but that I can
Yeah.
remember, it was Hollywood. So
So
in
you and my one close friend have the same thing. So my friend didn't get into wrestling until like 97, 98.
okay.
So like when Hogan went back to red and yellow, he was like, I don't get it. He's like, why
Yes.
isn't he being Hollywood? And I'm like, you don't know red and yellow Hulk Hogan. And he's like, I don't like it. He's like, Hollywood's where it's at.
I remember because I was really big on the video games. I remember
Yeah.
WCW NW Revenge, you could pick alternate costumes for the wrestlers.
Right.
And when it showed all the different Hollywood Hogans, and then the last one was red and yellow Hogan. And I remember not understanding what that was or why this random red and yellow costume was in it. And I probably didn't know for like another 6-8 months until he did the red and yellow thing on Nitro one time. Yeah. And so in WWF on Raw and stuff, Pat Patterson, Joe Briscoe come out to Real American,
Yeah.
you know.
Right.
So when Hogan returned in like 2002 and he came out to Real American, I had to ask my friends why he was coming out to Gerald Briscoe's theme.
This might be the greatest moment ever on my podcast. I don't know how many interviews I got left, but I'm closing up shop just on that alone.
I lived a strange life, man. Losing sight of history. I picked all the wrong choices, man.
So it's funny that you say you had oh god, now I can't remember it. The Clash of the Champions with Sting and Flair.
Yes.
So my brother is 10 years older than me. So he like recorded on a VHS all these, and it would just be WWF number 1, WWF number 2, WWF number 3, and WWF number 4. And they were all Saturday Night Main Events. Every goddamn one of the tapes. And like during Saturday Night Main Event, there'd be a commercial for NWA, and you would see Ric Flair on it. I'm like, and like I think Magnum TA, maybe somebody else. Definitely Luger, because I remember seeing Luger and being like, who's that guy? And Sting was definitely on it. And I remember I had one actual wrestling tape, and it was Starrcade 87. And I remember seeing Dusty Rhodes wrestle Lex Luger. And yes, I did the opposite of what you did. I was like, why isn't he wearing polka dots? Why does he have just regular clothes on, like regular, just plain underwear? Like, where's his polka dots? I was so upset that he wasn't wearing polka dots in that match. And then the first pay-per-view I ever saw, and I have that recorded on VHS too, was WrestleMania 8. So I could never understand why Ric Flair had a different belt in the NWA, because I was little, like 92, I was like 4-ish, 6-ish. I just remember like asking my aunt, I'm like, well, where's his big belt? Because like he had the big gold belt in the 87 video. And then my aunt's like, I don't know what you're talking about. Like, we're stealing this. Just like watch this, because we were stealing the pay-per-view that day. Like, just shut up and watch it, kid.
So for me, I think it was probably around late 99 where I watched something like, first of all, I definitely watched Raw as Owen because my family had heard about what happened. We watched it, but I really had, that's literally the only WWF thing I watched. I didn't understand exactly what was happening, storyline. Like there was no real storylines anyway that night, but I didn't know who anybody was. That might have been the first time I ever saw Steve Austin. I'm not sure. Maybe I saw
him in Stunning Steve. You saw.
Right. But like to me, maybe I saw him wrestle The Rock at 15, maybe.
Okay.
But other than that, I really didn't have any idea other than like what kids say in the classroom or whatever. So, but other than that, somewhere around late 99, I went to a tape store, like your mom and pop VHS tape kind of place. and I got WrestleMania 12. And so we're talking like late 99. I don't know who any of these people are. Oh, I got a good one for you. I'm watching WrestleMania 12, right? And I go, why is Bret Hart in the WWF?
Oh, man.
I didn't know the screw job or anything. In my mind, Bret Hart must have just been here forever. I don't know.
Yeah.
So, like, I had no idea of, like, Bret Hart's entire WWF run. I was surprised when I saw Kevin Nash wrestle The Undertaker. I'm like, why is this happening? I'm like, oh, okay, that's weird. Like, that, it blew my mind. Seeing Shawn Michaels for the first time was in the Iron Man match. And I was like, this guy's amazing. Where is he? Oh, he's retired. Well, so much for that, I guess.
That's awesome.
Like, man, it was wild. Eventually, after that, I started watching Shotgun Saturday Nights. I'd stay up late because it aired late at night, and I was like, geez, I might as well have been looking up porn or something. Like I would go into the living room, turn all the lights out, and get real close to the TV, watch Shotgun because I didn't want my parents to see, because they would flat out be like, you can't watch any of that WWF stuff. So I would keep up with like whatever Austin did to McMahon that week or whatever that way.
That's awesome.
But yeah, man, I live in a strange world.
Hey.
And now I love all of it. So
yeah, I mean, if I knew what I knew, like now, like the both companies, like I couldn't comprehend it when I was little.
Mm-hmm.
Like I said, when I would watch that Starrcade '87, I'd be like, why is Dusty not wearing polka dots? Where's this? And like everybody says it was like a rib on him, but like I loved the polka dots when I was a kid. I was like, I wanted to wear polka dots because Dusty Rhodes was wearing polka dots. And he was cool to me. So yeah, I think we both had weird childhoods, so I agree. We're both 88 babies. You can't help it.
It is what it's the year of the dragon, so it is what it is.
That's right, baby. That's right. I just want to thank you for coming on. I want to give you time to plug all your social medias, anything you got upcoming. Give them all where they could find you, or where you're going to be upcoming, so they could see you.
All right, so here's the thing, guys. We have TikTok, we have Instagram, we have Facebook, we have Twitter, we have YouTube. We have, if there's a social media, we have it. Everything but Grindr, pretty much. So, but here's the thing: you got to type in @Stepdads Wrestling, all one word. If you type in Stepdads space wrestling into like Google, we're not responsible for what you come up with or what you find. Okay, that's not. Sorry about that, folks. Maybe put you on your safety control or whatever. But if you go on Instagram, Stepdads Wrestling, on YouTube, Stepdads Wrestling, TikTok, Stepdads Wrestling. Yeah, we got TikTok. We're in with the kids.
Kicking talking.
That's right. And we have Patreon as well.
Hey.
Oh yeah. We post stuff all the time. Sometimes I post our old backyard wrestling videos there and promos. Every skit we do, we always have outtakes and stuff that we can't air, so I post them on there. That kind of future designs. We got plenty of t-shirt designs we're going to be throwing out there. We usually get a new design every year, so we got that. ProWrestlingTees.com/stepdads. We got 4 t-shirts on there right now. Our original logo, God's Dad Bods. Our new Dad Dudes shirt, which is based on the NES Bad Dudes. Are you bad enough to save the president? So, oh yeah, we got some fun stuff there. And Twitter, Stepdads Wrestle, because for some reason you can't fit wrestling in there, so it's just Stepdads Wrestle. But we literally post. I've set all the scheduling and all that stuff. So literally every morning there's a new photo, professionally done photo from one of our recent matches. Almost every evening there's a new video, be it a promo, a match, a skit, whatever. On our Facebook and on our YouTube in chronological order. We air everything that we do, so you can literally click like Stepdads at House of Bricks Wrestling, Stepdads at True Wrestling, and you can literally watch their entire playlist in order, and you can follow our storylines. I'm a big believer in, like, someone 5 years down the line might go, oh, I just randomly heard this Stepdads guys now, and then they can follow our entire story in order.
I like that.
Yeah, I'm a huge believer of that kind of thing, and just keeping media going. I don't want to be that guy that posts once a week and just assumes everyone's gonna watch. You gotta grind. So every day I post at least a photo, if not a photo and a video. And we've been doing that forever. We're gonna keep doing it forever. So works out.
Well,
but thank you very much for having me on, man. Thank you.
No, thank you. And that is Moran and Friends for this week.